Morning all, how are we doing? Another glorious Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday anyway. Lose track of the days. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Just a quick recap on trades overnight. I had two Aussies on. We obviously had the Aussie dollar news, which was positive, all positive CPIs. Pretty good figures, basically, on what they were forecasting. So we had a bit of a move on the Aussie dollar. So I exited those positions this morning. So I had the Euro odd on. Had 3 positions on that. Let me just take this fib off. So I had that one which I took off yesterday. And then that was the initial position from Friday last week, second position, and third one I took again yesterday and out there. So pretty good trade, that one. And I got out of the Aussie US this morning as well. Aussie US I don't like as much. It's in such a big downtrend at the minute. Obviously the euro is, I'm always shorting the euro, so I wasn't too worried about the euro, but the US dollar is pretty strong at the moment. So initial position was taken on Monday. I didn't get out on that push. We pulled back down, entered a second position as we broke during Asia, and got out there. So this one's stalling. The reason I got out was because of this here. We got a fairly strong support resistance level we tapped into, and we started to pull back. So that's why I exited. I was watching this level basically, and looks like we're stalling again here. So potential continuation happening. So better to bank it and put it in the bank, not worry about it. US dollar Swiss I've still got on. I've got a couple of positions running on this one. I was a little light on the actual position sizing, so I've added a bit more on. We're pushing up still this morning. But this is very, very extended. On the 4-hour US dollar Swiss, obviously we've had this massive strong push now we're into our third week of continuous strength on the US dollar Swiss. We haven't had much Swiss franc strength. We had a little bit showing up yesterday. It looked like it was starting to stop yesterday and start to pull back a little bit, but it's shot off again. So I'm still in this. We've been extended now for pretty much for a week. And the previous week we were extended with one tiny little pullback. If you look at it, this thing, it's very, 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 very strong at the moment. But at some point we are going to get that pullback, and the pullback's probably going to be quite dramatic, probably down to around about the 94,600 level. Come back and retest this area here. Failing that, we're going to retest this area, I'd imagine. So either way, my average is here. I'm well in it. So, but yeah, still pushing at the moment. So I've got some stops on this. I'm not going to let it get much further than ADR today, and I'll get out of this one up here. Don't like it if it's going to continue. I'm not getting into any long-term positions at the minute with multiple positions as I usually do. I'm just taking a few positions, sort of 2-3 positions, and if it's not working out, I'm jumping. So I don't want to get caught in any squeezes. Speaking of squeezes, New Zealand dollar yen, I've just entered my first position long. So this area here we've broken down through. Potentially this is going to be a continuation short, but I'm playing basically the fact that tomorrow morning the Bank of Japan outlook is going to be poor, and in which case we're going to get a weak yen. And money flowing out of the yen further, which means we're going to get everything pushing against the yen tomorrow. If that isn't the case, I'm out. So just single position, single risk, and basically just going to jump out if they decide that they're going to power up the yen in any way, in which case obviously that's fine. And then we'll have an idea of what is actually happening with the yen. But this is the first time we've broken down through an accumulation here. So, which makes me think potentially this could be a deep stop run. There'll be a lot of liquidity under there as well after this push and pullback, and then we broke these highs. So a lot of people will put liquidity there. Anybody that's longed this in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, has got their liquidity sitting there. That's all gone. So it's set up nicely for a stop run, short, long drive basically. So nicely extended on the RSI. So it's a good looking entry, I think, but we'll see. So yes, I'm in that one. You can pick that. This is pretty much the same trade on any of these yens really. They've all had this lovely pullback. We've had a 24 bounce there. Swiss yen, we've just bounced into the 24 zone as well, 24.72. We're very deep on the pound. The pound is a lot weaker obviously than the rest at the minute, so but good deep pullback, very nicely extended on RSI, and obviously New Zealand dollar yen and US dollar yen. US dollar is very strong at the minute, so that one could well go a lot harder. It's not as extended though as all the rest, so I prefer something that's really extended on the RSI as well, because you've got more chance of profit taking moves coming in along with any weakness, which will obviously propel it a bit faster and harder. So morning Teat, Andy, Diamond, Burke. RSIs this morning, we've got a few already hit. I've got a DAX short on, by the way. Not convinced about this one this morning. I'll show you in a minute why. But I'm going to have a crack at it because I've got quite a bit of profit in the bank this morning. So I'm taking a little bit more of a risky position on the DAX. So obviously if you've not banked anything, this is a risky short. I think we're going long today. And we could well go long straight out the bat. I smell burning. Hopefully it's my wife's hairdresser. Hairdresser? Hairdryer. Anyway. Sorry, 1 second. Is that your hairdryer? Yeah, that's right. Must be a hairdryer. It's either that or my computer. Don't worry. No, it's all right. It's all right. I'm on fire in here. Don't worry. Yeah, I don't know what that smell is. You know, it's like not so much electrical burning, but dust. When you turn the radiator on for the first time after a long time, you get that dust burning type smell. Anyway, so yeah, so basically taking a short, looking for the gap fill. It's a very tiny gap this morning, but I might as well cover it while I'm here before we go into ADRs. We had a very big down day yesterday on the DAX. Very, very, very. I mean, the market absolutely collapsed. Morning, Stevie. All the indices dropped like a stone. We watched it happening. I lost $2,500 on the futures account yesterday, and made a lot on my FX funded account with MFF, but lost on futures trying to catch the bounce off of this thing. But we had this big drop across all indices. If you look historically at what happens when we get these massive drop candles, yeah, the following day we tend to retest the lows of them and then push up. Yeah, big drop, retest the lows, push up. Just trying to find another one. Fairly big drop, retest the lows, push up. Big down. That one didn't actually retest the lows and push up, but fairly big drop, retest the lows, push up. We had a gap on that one. Big drop. I'm looking for a retest of the lows, and then I'm looking for an update somewhere 50% of that candle. There is a possibility, because we've got this gap here, that it's just going to fly straight up, but I'm looking for that retest drop. So what I'm looking for this morning on the DAX is a gap fill, and potentially a retest of these lows or slightly below these lows, and then I'm going to look for buys basically to come back up into these gaps here somewhere up. Probably that accumulation there is probably the most logical one for them to come and retest this area here. Yeah, so that's the play. So it's slightly risky because obviously there's no real price action to go on at the moment. You can see I've taken a short on this bearish engulfing here, and I've added to it as we came down here, but it's just pulled back. So we're putting in a fairly decent M pattern reversal here, potentially. Obviously the market's just opened. So that's the entry, basically on that bearish engulfing there, and then looking for a short addition. But if it stops me out, it stops me out, and it could well just fly out this morning. But I think it's a fairly good bet that we're going to drop down and fill this gap in at some point. But we will see. So that's my initial sort of play. But we'll obviously just monitor that one. Pip King, thoughts on CAD Swiss. I'll have a look at that one in a sec. I'm just watching what's going on at the open. So we've had a fairly decent push down, which is rejected at the minute. I'm just seeing if we're going to retest these highs. But I'm just going to move my TP up slightly on that. Just going for that gap fill basically. So if we get that filled, then going to watch price action around these lows and start adding some stop orders above the highs to hopefully get that bounce back up today to retest. But it's whether or not they're going to do this, because they've got plenty of time to do this over the next couple of days if they're going to drop the market further, which it looks obviously like they are. So they may well just push straight up on this today, and if they do, obviously, as I am just about to, get stopped out. So just taking new highs. So big old opening range today. Still got 1.5 minutes left on this candle, but fairly wide this morning. Okay, adding that position back in underneath the lows of this current. So this is basically going to be an opening range breakout. Short. Okay. CAD Swiss. It's a long at the minute. So we just bounced basically off this support resistance area. So I'll be looking for longs. CAD's very strong at the moment. Swiss franc's not really got anything. This is that Swiss franc strength that we had showing, but obviously that's all reversing. So yeah, be long CAD Swiss. Okay, it's just broken down there nicely. It's all about the timing. Yes, it is all about the timing. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. I did nearly 3K on my funded account yesterday. I finished off with a nice nice rally. Just trying to find it. Screenshotted it in the Telegram group. Yeah, so that was my final move yesterday on the funded account, was these two here on the Dow. And it's literally, you know, I made just over $2,000, 2,300 and 2,400 loss on the futures account, but I made $3,000 on the MFF account, trading the same thing, doing the same thing. Yeah. So it's all about timing. If I hadn't have hit the sell button on, or if I hadn't had that pending order sitting there, and I'd have waited and hit it now, or added this entry on here, and this now shoots down and does this gap fill, it doesn't. You can have exactly the same idea with exactly the same stop loss and exactly the same TP, but if you time your entry there or there, you're going to have a completely different result with exactly the same position. Yeah, and this is what I keep saying about all the time. We know the market is going to go through time, it's going to move up and it's going to move down. You have a 50-50 shot of getting it right when you hit the button. The timing of your trade is impossible to tell. No one can time the trade. No one knows when this market is going to decide to put that next move in, when this next massive bear candle is going to form, when this run is going to happen. We don't know. You just have to be in the market at the right time with a stop loss that they don't actually grab before they make that move. You can't do the timing. No one can. Unless you're sitting there watching the guy in Barclays with that 100,000 contract order about to be executed by that algorithm, you don't know when this market is going to move. No one does. And that's what it's all about, timing. And that's one thing we can't time. We can't do timing. No one can. Doesn't matter how many bullish and bearish engulfings you look at. Yeah. The vast majority of them are going to fail. You've got to be in the one that works. And you've got to hold it until it gets rid of all the losses you've had previously. Yeah. So I'm one trade down at the moment. I'm 0.5% down. If I get stopped out here, I'll be 1% down. If I get in again and get stopped out again, I'll be 1.5% down. But when it goes, I'll be 2% up. That's it. That's what it's all about. I don't know when it's going to go. I haven't got a clue. I think it's going this way. I don't know. I think it's actually going that way today, but I think it's going that way first. Just have to hit the buttons. If this thing pushes up there and then does that, I'll change my bias long. But I've no idea when it's going to happen. Any of it. Unfortunately. Wouldn't that be nice? All about the timing. So I'm just watching this to see what we do at this towards these highs. What's the opening range? 600. Okay, I'm going with the buy stop at the opening range high. I'm going with a sell stop, another sell stop underneath these lows. So if we're going to break to the downside, I'm going 3 short. Fast move down to here. If we stop out on these, I'll take it high because I think we're probably going long today. But as I said, I don't know when and which way they're going to take it first of all. So makes much more sense to come down and do this first before they do that, because then they'll have a clear run to the highs back up to these levels here. But we'll see. At the moment, we're undecided, more short than long. Keep an eye on that one. Right, while we're waiting for that, ADRs today. We've got a lot of weeklies hit already, so these are all worth having a look at as well today. So Aussie dollar Swiss. Obviously, the Aussie dollars are the main ADR hits today based on the Aussie dollar news. Oh, by the way, news today, we haven't really got any. So we've got Lagarde speaking later at 5. So everything's happening after market today. So there's literally no news. We've had Macklem put in as well at 11:30. He wasn't on the bill yesterday, but he's now talking later. So potential CAD movement overnight as well. So no news today. Nothing to worry about at all. Tomorrow morning is the important thing, is the Bank of Japan outlook report. This is potentially what could be a big market mover this week. Depending on what Kuroda says at the press conference and what the monetary policy statement is, that could have quite a serious impact on yen bias, which will have impact on everything. So I think we could, like I said, possibly get weakness on the yen. All the rumblings that have been coming out are they're not worried about the current state of the yen. They're willing to let the yen weaken a little further before they put any kind of monetary policy shift in place. And they don't really have a lot of choice at the moment because they are just buying themselves into more and more and more debt. So I think it's just a stalling tactic at the moment to give them more time to figure out what the hell to do. Exactly what the euro's been doing for approximately 2-3 years now. So no end in sight at the minute. So that's what my plan is, and that's why I've taken that New Zealand dollar yen long this morning, just to as a sort of preemptive trade. Still got to stop down all the way down here, but this is probably going to go, all the yens you'll probably see go into accumulation today. Unlikely we'll get any movement on them because there's obviously too much at stake tomorrow. So that's all the news we've got. I don't really like this DAX. Just want to watch what sort of wick we get here. We've got 2 minutes left. We're rejecting this level over and over again at the moment. Very bullish. Just gonna watch this for a couple of minutes. I've got the same trade running on the funded account, so just want to pay attention. We've got the same thing happening across all other indices as well. It's a rejection to the downside. It's looking bullish. But I want to wait till candle close. Lots of rejection. There we go. We're through. Should have the crickets on, shouldn't we? Okay, 30 seconds left. Fairly substantial breakout, isn't it? Okay, well, there's our breakout short. So I'm just going to hold on to that. Taking one off above this wick, one off towards low of day yesterday, and the third one, I'm just going to put as a little bit of a runner. Oops. 1, 2, second position there. Sorry, we'll have a look at the ADRs in a minute. So get one of these in the bank. Decent selling coming in on the NAS and the ES. Should add the DAX to this again, shouldn't I, really? Let me find the DAX. Okay, decent DAX selling. Sorry, this isn't actually showing the proper profit figures because this one I took manually. Just going to close that one out. I just realised. Yeah. So that was 74. So 1% down. So that was 74 on that one. So that was 0.7%. So I've got 0.9% running. What should I do with these? Let's let that one run to the lows, and then I'll let the other one be a bit of a runner. Okay. Just going to bring the stops down to reduce risk on it. Just take one off of the funded as well. Actually, no, I won't. I'll wait until that. Yes, I will. Take one off there. Move that to break even. Sorry. Too many things to do at once. Good start to the morning. Right, ADRs. Let's move over those off for the minute. So yeah, Aussie dollar Swiss. Obviously, all the Aussies pushed up based on the news. So we had a decent rally on the Australian dollar. Come off of ADR, nice reversal out on M5, came straight up into this accumulation drop there. It is good news for the Aussie. CPIs are always pretty good. And they do tend to give a good day or so quite often of strength to a currency. But obviously everything is in utter turmoil at the moment. So I've got out of my Aussies just to put them in the bank because I want stuff in the bank. I don't want to let stuff run because it's very volatile at the minute. So we've had an ADR reversal on that one, on obviously the Aussie dollar yen as well, but be wary about taking these obviously because you're selling basically into strength with the Aussie dollar. But saying that, if you look at all the Aussie dollars at the moment, they are very strong, but we are in a big period of weakness at the moment. If you look at it on the hourly, you can see obviously we are very, very range bound and more bearish at the moment. So again, not really sure. Usually you wouldn't expect money to fly into the Australasian pairs during a crisis, and that is exactly what happened when we had the Ukraine invasion. All the money went into the Aussies, which is odd. So it's difficult to read what on earth is going on behind the scenes here, because you wouldn't expect Aussie dollar to get so strong off the back of something like an invasion in Europe, but it did. So not quite sure which way this one wants to go, whether they're going to continue the trend from here, or whether this double top is basically the reversal starting, which is what we would expect to see based on what the COT report says, which is everything going short. But who knows? So I'm out of them. It's up to you whether you want to take ADR reversals on these, but if you've obviously missed them if you're not in them. Just look for areas where we're potentially going to bounce down here. And that's where you want to get out. So same as usual, if you're taking any trade, where are we going? Look for where we're likely to get that reversal, that bounce from. Euro odd, opposite direction. Obviously, I want to be shorting the euro all the time. A nice 3-bar reversal there off of ADR, and obviously we've given the reversal alert, but I got out of all my shorts there. A little bit too early, but not much. Let's go DAX. Second TP. 1%. Moving stock to break even. I'm going to let that run. Should I let that run? Put a 300 pip trailer on it. Just locking some more profit in, basically. And I'm going to go for a bit more of a runner on it. Highly, highly unlikely we'll hit ADR. But saying that, look at what happened yesterday. Any reason why we shouldn't just get a repeat? It's just at the moment, anything can happen. Yeah, this was the biggest evacuation of money I've seen for a long time in the indices. I spent a bit of time yesterday. As I said yesterday, I'm on quite a few Telegram groups, Discord channels. I subscribe to quite a few YouTubers who do live streaming and stuff. And I had a quick flick through a lot of the YouTubers yesterday who live stream. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that got massacred yesterday, is all I can say. Virtually everybody that was trading yesterday was trying to buy value area lows and all sorts of things on all these indices, and everybody got cremated. So there's a couple of guys which I respect an awful lot. They also got cremated. Professional traders, 10 years banking experience. They got killed too. So it's nice to see that I wasn't the only one getting hammered yesterday, and the fact that I came out with a slight profit, I think, is a bit of an achievement. But the vast majority of people got killed on this. You wouldn't expect this, and you can't get in on it. So why not hold the thing again? And there's no reason why this thing isn't just going to come down for the next 40 minutes today. Anything can happen. So get those runners on, trail them, and if this thing just shows continuous weakness all morning, take it, let it ride. You've got to get the runners when they happen. But I'm going to trail this. I'd rather get out because I've obviously banked 2% odd this morning already anyway. So well, not that, because I had 2 losers, but I'm up 0.7. So whatever this banks me is over 1% for the morning. That will do me on the DAX. We just come off the lows. So this is where I would expect us. If you look on the daily chart, this is where I would expect us to start thinking about that push, if we're going to get it. Yeah, so when we get the big drops, we tend to come down and either retest the lows if we can, and then put the red to green day in, and that will quite usually be a grind. But equally, we could have another one of these. We had that big push, didn't we, the day before, ended up bearish, and the next day slammed. Yeah, we could do the same thing today. But I'm certainly not going to try and long it if we do. Right. Euro odd, so let's do that one as well. I want to be going the other way on it. So the weeklies that we've hit already. Aussie dollar yen has already done its weekly range. So that one's obviously bounced already off of ADR today, up at the high, sorry, and we are turning round. So the trade on that one really was down here. CAD yen has hit. So most of these that have hit their weeklies are the yens, because the yen's been still going on the DAX. Sorry, just get so distracted, don't I? Too many monitors. I'm watching too much going on in the market. It's hard to concentrate. CAD yen, same thing. Big strong push down. Not really interested in longing too many of these yens. As I said, I've got a New Zealand dollar yen long on, and I'm stopped down below these lows. So I think this is all these ones that have hit their weekly ranges. I think this is going to be either the low of the week, or we're going to get a catastrophic drop based on the Bank of Japan and Kuroda saying that they're going to change monetary policy. So either way, you need to get into these with a stop at assuming this is the low of the week, and we're going to get the push, or you're going to get stopped out of them. So don't get into too many of these yens. One, maybe two if you are feeling brave, but they are all extended on the weekly. They've hit their weekly ranges already. We're on Wednesday. Tomorrow morning we've got very big news coming on the yen, so just be careful with them. Pound yen is the worst of the bunch at the minute, because the pound is obviously incredibly weak at present. So, and obviously the euro is always usually going to be the second worst. And obviously the Swiss at the moment, because the Swiss is tagged to the euro and moving the same. So, most of those are yens. The ones that aren't yens, we've got the New Zealand dollar CAD. So we had a big, strong push up on Tuesday, and now we've pulled back. So really from Monday's open, all we've done is gone kind of range bound at the moment, so that one's not really in play. Pound Swiss, massive drop. This is the zone that I was identified as potential bounce point for the pound. It's done a lovely hammer out of there, but obviously look at what we're putting in now. It's just so weak. I really can't bring myself to take a long on it. As much as it looks lovely on the RSI, it looks lovely from a technical perspective, from a supply area. I just can't bring myself to long it. It's too weak. So pound Swiss has obviously hit its range. I just don't fancy pounds long. Same with the pound CAD and the pound odd. The pound CAD, obviously, we've got a very strong Canadian dollar at the moment. An Australian dollar, obviously, we know we've just had that news, which has strengthened up the Aussie. Look at the DAX go. Beautiful. Are we going to do ADR within the first hour? Sing's not interested, is it? Did anybody find out what the drop was yesterday in the markets? Was it Elon Musk selling off every piece of stock he's got to buy Twitter, or was it the market reacting to Twitter? Twitter share. Yeah, see, Twitter came down pretty hard yesterday, didn't it? So the vast majority of that sell-off yesterday, I reckon, was Twitter. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't. Look, if you look at where the market opened, actually, no, that's our time, isn't it? So yeah, a lot of that was Twitter sell-off yesterday, wasn't it? Don't think the market was very happy about Musk buying Twitter. I'm surprised it would affect the DAX, though. Nothing to do with the DAX. So, odd. Still going. Crickets have not shut up. This is exactly what it was like yesterday. This whole thing was lit up red, wasn't it, all day yesterday. Every tiny bit of buying pressure we got coming in was just like slammed immediately. So we're going further than expected on that. Okay, so try and visualize this sort of price action. Yeah. That becoming a wick. This all turning into green. Wow, I've just TP'd on my funded account. Wow. Like it. Is everybody short on this? Okay, just going to stop out. Nice start to the morning. Some buying coming in on the Nasdaq. Okay, done. Cancelling that pending off. I don't think we're getting an opening range high breakout, do you? I'll do. So that's a DAX done. So going back to these, all these pounds, basically I can't long those. Everything else basically is yen. So on the weeklies, I would be looking at all the yens basically for long, potential longs. Just purely based on what's going to happen tomorrow. So, but we'll see. The news is the news. It will either fly or it won't. Monthlies, we got a lot of those here, obviously, but it's the last week of the month, so they're all completely irrelevant at the minute because we are 3 days away from the end of the month. Hourly RSI is the only thing we've got is the pound US dollar, nicely extended on the hourly, but I'm loath to buy the pound at the minute. It's catastrophic drops across the board, and like the indices yesterday, you can't get into it. It's not giving you anything but one bar pullbacks or like descending accumulations. It's just not really easy to get in short on this thing. So if you hit the short button now thinking, okay, this thing's collapsing, highly likely you're going to get that pullback. If you go for the long, you know you're going to get the drop. So just it's not worth getting into the pound at the minute. Let it come down. I'll ignore the yens on the 4 hours. We know they're all extended. US dollar Swiss, I'm already in. We got a nice hammer going in on the hour, shooting star going in on the hourly after that big push up this morning. US dollar CAD's gone through the roof at the open as well. Massive US dollar strength at the minute. We're seeing. I've got a buy stop on the Aussie US. Let's get rid of that. Big buy on the US at the moment. I'm looking for a pullback on this. So we're extended on the 4 hour. We're extended on the hourly. We're extended across the board basically. I've got my stops up towards ADR today. If we continue this push, the market is obviously out of whack at the moment, and we are in a massive squeeze on the US dollar and yen. If this is going to continue, I don't want to get into multiple positions on this thing because there's an opportunity for it just to accumulate and pop, which is exactly what we've seen happening with the yen. So if the US dollar is going to continue on this massive bull rally, I don't really want to get stuck to the wrong side of it. US dollar CAD, same thing this morning, big strong push. 4 hour we're extended. Last time we got extended on the RSI, we just went into an accumulation. We did get a pullback, so there was an out. And obviously when we got extended to the other side, we then popped. But the pop has been massive. Very, very strong moves. And again, this is what we keep seeing over and over again at the moment. We keep seeing these very, very, very strong moves with no pullbacks at all. No opportunities to get into any flags or anything on them. And you literally have to be in at the right time and you have to try and hold it. So again, you'll go from RSI extended to RSI extended with zero opportunities to get in. So Aussie dollar CAD is approaching an area of potential support, resistance up here. So there's a very decent zone that we're approaching, which could well work nicely. Anywhere up there around ADR today, we'd be looking for potential drop. US dollar Swiss, we've got nothing but clear skies for a long way. We're running into a load of chop. This is a big area of accumulation balance. We were stuck in for years. So there's an opportunity to get chopped around in there, but we're not interested in the weekly charts. But you've got to go out to the weekly charts to find any kind of potential resistance on this thing. It's clear skies at the minute. So you can pick any level. Anywhere up here, it's impossible to pick a zone for this thing to stop at. So just got to get in. Hope we get that pullback before they power up the next leg, and you've got to try and time it right really at the minute. So not very easy to trade the US dollar. Whoops. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, obviously opposite. We're pulling down at the moment on that one, very, very extended. As long as the US dollar is going to continue to power up, this thing's obviously going to continue to drop. Oh, sorry, don't want to do that. It's taking a little alert when we break up above that level. So New Zealand dollar, US dollar, if we look at where we're headed, we've got this nice area down here, which we are currently tapping into. So if we double bottom down here, potentially that is where we're going to get some weakness starting to come through. So on the US dollar, so say I'm looking for US dollar weakness just purely because everything on the US dollar is extended to the upside and everything against the US dollar is extended to the downside. So I'm looking for that pullback to start on the US dollar at some point. So New Zealand dollar, US dollar could be a nice little long these areas down here. US dollar CAD, I've just covered that, haven't I? Teat. Somewhere up there, looking for shorts. Same thing. Some good strength coming through on the indices now. They're just pushing back up again. New Zealand dollar yen, I will leave that one alone. It's another yen. We know what's going on with the yen. Pound US dollar, massive extension to the downside. Not interested really in long in this. Every zone I've picked for this thing has just collapsed. It's not happening. It's very difficult to pick a bottom on the pound US dollar. Again, we're coming out to the weeklies. You're running into accumulation here on the weekly chart. So this is likely somewhere it's going to drop. Rather US dollar is going to run out of steam and we're going to get a pop on the pound US dollar. But I don't think we're going to get enough strength on the pound because there's nothing fundamental coming up on the pound that could potentially shift it. And same with the US dollar to give it a decent pullback back up to these levels. So this is obviously the accumulation before we had the big drop down. You see that big propulsion gap in there. I don't think there's anything that's going to give it the strength to get back up there. So I think what we should be looking for is pullbacks to recent accumulations and then shorting out of those accumulations. So this area here is where I would start to get interested in the pound US dollar. And look to see if we get extended maybe on the hourly up there, or if you get M15 extensions, which you would do by the time we get up to there, look for short opportunities out of there. So roughly an ADR push back in the opposite direction, then looking for shorts on it. But for 4-hour RSI extension, obviously it's embedded as much as it could possibly be down here. And when we get down to these sorts of levels, the 15s and the 10s, we know we get a bounce. But the bounce, as you can see, is not necessarily going to be strong enough. So you get your next leg down starting. So we're just flagging and dropping all the time at the minute. The next one, price tends to move in 3 legs. So the next one is more likely to have more figure behind it because we'll get some profit taking moves. If someone's held a position for 3 legs on the 4-hour chart, they're going to be getting out of it. Say someone, an institution. That's when we should probably start to see that move. But again, I probably wouldn't want to target much more than that area. And depending on how far we get down here, that might be the leg that we pull back into again. So I've got car alarms going off at the moment. Don't know if you can hear that in the background, but God, I've got stuff catching fire. Car alarms going off. It's like the end of the world. Has Putin launched a rocket? Pound US dollar. So yeah, I don't want to be long in it. It's a really good long opportunity. from a levels perspective, there's nothing logical that I can see that is right. This is where we should be going from. So it's not the best opportunity, I don't think, at the moment. Any time before the war, I'd be jumping all over this with both feet and scaling into it. The way the US dollar's going at the moment and the way the pound's going at the moment, based on what the yen has done, I just don't want to get squeezed. So if we got down to ADR on something like this, then yes, we're likely to get that pullback. And you'd be looking, literally, say that was an ADR hit, you'd be looking to get out with a quarter of an ADR. That's really all I'd be interested in, just scalping as little as I can out of it. And then escaping before potentially the next leg starts down. We've got a lovely pullback happening on the indices at the moment. So I just set a little alert there. We've got one of two things in play here. Pound US dollar, remember where we got to. So there's your wick. Yeah, so decision here is this now the wick before the push, or is this a pullback before the second leg? That's the decision we've got to make. So be watching for price action here to see if we get any bearish moves. We've had a strong close. We've not had any price action bearish at all. We got the crickets going a bit crazy at the minute, buying. So potentially looking for pullback into the 2050 for a short. If we get that second leg pullback and start to get bullish price action, that's probably a good looking long opportunity there. So a little bit more of a pushback and then a push up. But I'm going to leave it alone for the minute. I just wanted to see if it was going to get up there. So because obviously then I can just bring it to your attention. So if you want to short it, if you stick a fib on this, this is really where we'd be looking for the pullback. Let me just move it over so we can see. So you're in your 50, 71 area. So anywhere in there, around about the 20-50 moving average, that's where I'll be looking to short it, stop above there. If you feel that this is the drop before we go red to green today, look for a second leg and a bullish engulfing or some kind of bullish candlestick down here to signal you to get in on the second leg long. Personally, I've made enough out of this morning that I don't need to trade it anymore, but those are the scenarios. Take your pick. So pound US dollar 4 hour. Yeah, just not really interested. That's 4 down days. Look at it. It's just got you. Every bone in my body is telling me to long this at the minute, but I can't do it. I'm too scared of the market at the minute. Pound yen. Again, another yen opportunity for a long, assuming Kuroda is going to devalue the yen tomorrow. Pound is not the one I would play, neither is the euro. So these two, basically, I would give a miss. There's much better yen pairs out there, namely the New Zealand dollar yen, mainly, or the Aussie dollar yen, or potentially the Swiss yen. But I think New Zealand dollar yen is the better of the bunch at the minute for a long opportunity. We've got some decent levels on this that we've got drawn in. I haven't got that one drawn in. But we've got these highs here as a level at 175 ADR. We've obviously got the double bottom there and this high here, which we've basically completely slammed through because the pound just collapsed. So we've got some levels to approach, but this is not it where we are right now. So I'd be looking for 159 basically. That double bottom potentially for a long opportunity, failing that 157 700 level roughly. So somewhere around here. That propulsion gap there which you can see drawn on the chart here. That is the breakout of that high. We never came down and retested this level, so likely we're going to get some kind of price action down there, but where it is at the moment, just not really interesting at all. So pound yen, pound Swiss, same thing. I just don't want to long it. This is a really good looking level, as you can see on the 4-hour chart, where we've got a lovely RSI extension. I think we are going to get some decent price action, probably back up into this zone here, but I don't want to long the pound at the minute. I'd much rather wait for it to get up into these zones and then look for some short opportunities. Still got buying coming in across the indices. Complete V-shaped recovery this morning. It's going to do exactly what I said it was going to do. It's going to come down, and it's basically just going to go like that today. We're going to go red to green, I reckon. So yeah, pound Swiss, very nice extension on the RSI, but I say I don't want to be long in the pound at the minute. Pound CAD, same story. The pound CAD hasn't got any levels either that are decent until we get all the way back down here towards these sorts of lows. Probably that, yeah, it's the same low basically. So looking at these lows here, yeah, so this is where I would expect us to start finding some support when we get there. We're not there yet. So you're looking at 175, 200 ADR push today. Very strong Canadian dollar, very weak pound. Although it's nicely extended, I think it's got more room. So I'll be leaving that one for the minute. But equally, could just go, don't know. But I'd rather take it from a level of support than just take it because it's extended on the RSI at the minute. Euro US dollar, same story. Do not want to be long in this. I've been shorting it. I have longed it. No, I haven't. That's not on that trade. I was going to say I can't remember long in the euro. So yeah, that's, don't long it. Basically, you can see it doesn't take a rocket science to tell you that you should not be taking a long on the euro US dollar. Euro yen. Same story with this. Not my favourite yen long. The euro, the yen is the only thing the euro is beating at the minute. It shows you how weak the yen is. If the euro can beat it, we've got some fairly decent support resistance levels to play with if we can get down to them. But this is exactly the same as the pound yen. You want to take a trade from one of these levels when you see some price action. If you don't, just don't get into it because it's extended or anything. Just wait for support resistance levels. When the euro is extended to the downside, it doesn't mean it's going to pop. The euro is incredibly weak and will remain weak no matter how many times they say that they're going to increase the rates in July, which we've known about for months. And the market pops up and says, oh look, we should be going long on the euro. It comes back the other way. So shorts, every time they bolster the euro and say the rates are going to change and you see a pop on the euro, hit the sell button. Euro pound, very difficult to trade as well at the minute. We're range bound, so this is actually not a bad looking short opportunity, but as you can see, obviously you've got very, very clear range lows, you've got very, very clear range highs, and obviously we've got the outliers as well. So this is actually a good spot for a short. Failing that, somewhere around here we should be also looking for shorts. So from a position trading perspective, this isn't a bad one to take a starter position on this extension. This entry here, you may have taken sort of a level, but not particularly great. This is a much stronger level where we've rejected it multiple times in the past. So somewhere around here, I'd be looking for a particularly decent short on euro pound, with a backup position somewhere around ADR. Failing that, you could have a last chance saloon at 150 ADR up at these highs. If they sweep those, there's a high probability of a drop. But this area here is obviously our main trading range from these highs here down to these lows here. Yeah, and that's exactly where we are now. So would expect us to come back down and retest this. The euro and the pound are both weak. When you've got a weak currency against a weak currency, you get a range. Until that changes, and there's nothing forecast to change for either of these currencies, we should be seeing these range bound. So what we're looking for is the euro to weaken or the pound to increase in strength ever so slightly, and you're just going to get that. News-wise coming up, we haven't got anything for euro or pound on the scorecard this week, so it's potentially just a drop when they decide to strengthen one up. We've got Lagarde speaking this evening, and we've got CPIs for the euro. So there's a potential for those to have an impact. Every time Lagarde seems to speak at the moment, the market reacts positively. I don't know why, because nothing ever coming out of her mouth is positive. So I like this, but I'm not 100% sure on the price action. So I think we've had a reverse alert up here this morning. It's a horrible. I hate these reverse alerts where you got this big when they're this long. I like reverse alert to me is that. Yeah, we get the break and the retest. That is a perfect M pattern reversal, or a double top reversal, or a stop hunt reversal. So you get your reversal alert on that leg. So you would have had a failed one there and a second reversal alert there. That's the one. So this thing is just an accumulation drop, which doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to drop from here. But potentially a little short under there. I'm just going to see what risk. That's not too bad. So levels, obviously, as you can see. Let's just move this up to a higher time frame again. So those highs, that's going to be. Do I want to risk that? I think that's a pretty good trade, actually. So I'm going to go just above those highs with initial position, and then monitor where we go from here. So entry under the lows on this 4-hour candle. Looking to trade it down towards the lows down there somewhere. Second entry up at ADR today. In fact, rather than wait for a reversal, I'm more confident on this one, so I'll just stick a sell limit on up there. And then if ADR gets invalidated today, I'll be looking for a high up there. So euro pound as a short. But all ranges have got to end at some point, and all ranges have outliers, which are basically stop hunts. So we are either going to stay within our normal range, or we could put an outlier in, and it depends how big that outlier is as to whether or not I get stopped out in the position if it goes up there. But we've certainly got signs of weakness starting to show this morning. We're nicely extended on the RSI. We've got an M pattern forming RSI. We've got 4-hour divergence. So yeah, everything, all the boxes are ticked for a short. Divergence, RSI extension, stop hunt, propulsion gaps where sellers are going to be sitting. It's all looking good. So having a good short on that one. Morning, David. The NAS looking at where it is on the 4-hour time frame makes me ready for a long. So we were just talking about those this morning. Let me just finish these off. I've done them. Swiss yen. We know about the yen. Aussie US. So the Aussie US is an RSI extension based off of the news from. Actually, no, sorry, it's not. This is the US dollar strength. So we've had the bounce off of RSI extension. So this is the one that I took when we got down to here, and the second position, as you can see, and the exit. So that's what I took off this morning. We're against the US dollar. We're down at a fairly decent level of support. You can see why I took that initial position. Yeah, strong area of support resistance. We got the initial bounce. We pushed back down, took the extra position and got out. This is still pretty nice, but there's a couple of levels coming up, and it's very difficult to pick which of these will be the bounce point. If the US dollar continues its strength, we're going to see, as we've seen on others, an embedded RSI condition and a squeeze. How long that squeeze will go on for, I don't know. But we've had a big old drop, so we are definitely due a decent pullback. This is not enough. This lot all needs to have a correction. So, you know, we could well just go like that. But the way the US dollar is going at the moment, I think we've got a little bit more downside potentially on this. But this might be it. Reversal and push back up. But difficult at the minute with the US dollar and the Aussie dollar. So everything's difficult. I want to be in short time frames, and you know, I took the trade and the trade worked out, so I'm out. I'm done. That's my 4-hour RSI extension trade. That's how quick I'm getting out of stuff at the minute. I just don't want to be in things for any long period of time. So the NAS, so we were looking at all the indices this morning. I'm looking for a red to green day today on the DAX, which I've got. So it's already done it, unfortunately. I should have taken it, but I made loads of money on that drop this morning. So I didn't take it, but that was what I was looking for. So we looked this morning at what happens when we get a big drop. Yeah, what happens the following day after a big drop? We get a wick test to the downside and a red to green day. Wick test to the downside, red to green. Wick test to the downside, red to green. Wick test to the downside, red to green. But I wouldn't necessarily be looking for a push higher than 13,887, which is around about a 50% retracement on this move. So if you look at what we do get normally on those, we get a 50% retracement. Yeah. 50% retracement, 50% retracement, 50% retracement. That's where I'd be looking us to stop today, somewhere up here, and then go into a rotation. So after a trend day or a strong trend day, you tend to get a rotation day where the market just accumulates its next move. So today kind of may well have seen it all play out. Same for all of them. Obviously, the US markets haven't opened yet, which is why you're not going to get the same price action happening on these. But this afternoon we could well get that red to green go in. But they've done quite a lot of movement this morning already in the Globex session. So hard one to trade this afternoon again. So that's everything I'm looking at the minute. All done. We've just pushed back up, done a complete V-shaped recovery this morning. So we're now obviously stalling out up here. So what do you do with that? V-shaped recoveries tend to turn into W pattern reversals most of the time. So I would look for pullbacks and then look for bullish price action if you want to trade the DAX this morning. So look for a measured move on here. So possibly 38, but somewhere in that range I would look for some kind of bullish price action. Stop somewhere down there. Obviously wait for this bull move to finish, which it hasn't yet. It's still going. So just, you know, move as price moves, and then look for that pullback, and then look for that long out of that area down there somewhere. But be warned, we may well just rotate. We've done it. We've done the movement. They've executed the orders they needed to execute. They've taken the profit they need to take. The market is likely to just sit there. But we'll see. Who knows? Pound US dollar RSI low alert on the hourly. We know that. That's still extended. Look at that. Lovely little rejection this morning. Down there. Don't really want to take it though. Don't really want to long the pound. Pound US dollar is looking pretty tasty on the 5-minute chart. If you were to stick a 20 and a 50 moving average on here, let me put it over there. Nice pullback for next leg down. yeah. So yeah, that's all I've got this morning. Anybody got any other pairs they want to have a look at? All I'm in at the moment is US dollar Swiss. Short. Stopping out just below ADR on that. New Zealand dollar yen, I've got that long on. I don't think I've got anything else in there at the minute. Oh yeah, euro pound, don't I? So euro pound I'm looking at as well for a short. So I've got initial position set underneath these lows. So just waiting basically. I want to see this break back down again. So we'll see. We might not get any action on this again until later on, but we'll see. I want that proper retest and confirmation basically. If we're going to break these lows again today, we know we're bearish for the London session, and then hopefully New York will continue that down towards these lows, and then we'll probably bounce and drop. As I say, this is about as range bound as you get. So good area to start looking for shorts and obviously build into it if we push up. I'm not going to stick that third position on, because if on a third position, I'm not just going to stick a limit there, because if we just get a whacking great 4-hour candle, I'm just taking that loss for no reason whatsoever. So if we get a bounce off of there, i.e. a reversal alert somewhere up at the highs, that's where I'll take my third position when we get that bounce. I was just looking on gold. Hey, I've been looked at gold for a bit. Well, we looked at it yesterday. We look at it every day. I say we haven't looked at it for a bit. We look at it every day, but I don't trade it. So what I mean is I only look at it when people ask me to look at it, because I don't look at it any other time. Looking for extended W, then push higher. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is, obviously you can see I've got this zone here is very strong, specifically this zone here where we are right now. So yeah, we're not going to get reversal on the hourly. 15-minute. Yeah, because we're range bound for the last day and a bit, so it's very difficult to draw a W on this. This is just a horrible choppy accumulation. But I would be looking for a propulsion move out of this. And yeah, I mean, targeting the upside on it at some point, but it's difficult also to tell where this thing's going to go. If you look at the price action we've had on it, some weeks, yeah, there's so little movement on gold. And then you get these big, strong weeks where we get a load of movement. We could well be moving into one of these sorts of patterns at the minute, where you're just going to sit in the thing for days and days and days, and then it's just going to stop you out. Just not very tradable. It's sideways. Unless you're trading very, very small time frames, obviously then you just need a bias. But if you're looking at an M5 at the minute, you want to be longing it down here, obviously, with stops underneath these lows, under yesterday's previous day's low. So wait for a reverse alert to the upside, but you're not going to get one for ages because the thing's tanked. It's hard to trade. I just don't like gold. Can't trade it. It kicks me in the butt every time I try and trade the thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I have to say we're a long, but we're a messy long, very messy long at the minute. God, that's a lovely double top, isn't it? But where we're going, you know, it's very, very difficult to pick this area here from the daily from months ago, from back to October last year. That is potentially where we're heading. Is that level there? Yeah, so if you get a push down to 100 ADR today, i.e. we break these lows, this double bottom, that area there is potentially where, you know, it's been very well used in the past around about that level. That's probably a good long as well, if this one fails. But I mean, RSI is just in the middle. It's all a bit near. It's all a bit near gold. 4 hour nice RSI extension, but as I say, it just. When I've tried to RSI trade gold, it goes into these stupid moves which just hurt. So I just don't do it. But I would be much more long bias than short bias on it. Getting easier for me mentally to get into trades again. Had a good day yesterday and rode the DAX down to the gap this morning. Cool. You've got to get in. Got to be in it to win it, as they say. It's one of the most difficult things, hindsight, and this is what preys on us mentally, is hindsight trading. You know, I watched a couple of videos yesterday, as I said, of everybody that I kind of follow that trades live, and you know, everybody got slaughtered on this yesterday, on this move. Regardless of what they were trading, whether they're trading the DAX, whether they're trading the S&P, the NASDAQ, whatever you were trading yesterday, everyone got slaughtered in the futures market, specifically in the futures market I'm talking about, because the futures market, you tend to use value area lows and liquidity pools to trade from, using market structure and not market structure, using depth of market and using market profile. Everybody uses the same stuff in the futures market because that's what the industry uses. Everybody got slaughtered, and I was watching everybody's analysis of it, and then I looked back at what I said yesterday, and everybody said exactly the same thing as me. Wouldn't it have been lovely if you'd have taken the opening range breakout? But everybody mentally was trying to get the bounce, because that's what we do. That's what tends to happen. We mean revert. And that's where everybody got slaughtered yesterday, trying to mean revert this unbelievable drop. And then everybody's analysis was, well, where would I have got in on this trade? And literally everybody went down, as I did yesterday. If you go back and look at the live room yesterday, I did exactly the same thing. I went to the 1 minute chart to try and find an entry, and you get a 1 bar pullback and a 2 bar pullback. You couldn't get into the thing. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, you couldn't get into this yesterday. You're not going to get in on a 1 bar pullback on a 1 minute chart. You've got a 2 bar pullback. You'd be thinking, right, this is the start of the push. 1 bar pullback, 1 bar pullback, 1 bar pullback. By the time you'd gone, right, okay, this thing's bearish, I'm going to enter short, you might have caught that. You know, it just is. Yesterday was just one of those days, and you just have to take them on the chin. Unfortunately, they happen. US dollar CAD. We've done US dollar CAD multiple times. I'll do it again. You probably weren't here for that one. US dollar is obviously very, very strong at the moment. The Canadian dollar is very strong at the moment as well. That's the Canadian dollar news. No, it wasn't. It was the Canadian dollar news. Yeah, that was the Canadian dollar news, I think. Or was it? I can't remember. But yeah, we're very, very strong on both of these currencies at the moment. The US dollar is obviously a lot stronger. This level here is where I would be interested in shorting, somewhere around ADR today. If you're in a long on it, that would be my target area, somewhere up there. It's difficult to pick an exact level on it. It's a big old zone. So this level here really is where we've rejected a couple of times, and we've obviously had outlier stop runs on it, and then that big spike up there is the ultimate high recently. So somewhere in there I would be looking to get out of positions if I'm long on them. We're very nicely extended for shorts, but it's difficult to trade against the US dollar at the minute. But it will run out of steam at some point. I'm short on the US dollar Swiss already. And it's still pushing. I'm probably going to get stopped out on this one today. But yeah, still pushing. So I would be looking up here somewhere for an exit. But there's nothing news-wise really this week that is going to affect us until tomorrow afternoon. So what I potentially think is going to happen is today is going to be the final push for the US dollar, which is why I'm hoping it doesn't quite reach ADR today. And then we'll start a pullback on it. But I don't think necessarily it's going to be a reversal. It's going to be a pullback because obviously tomorrow we've got GDP, and GDP is factored in to be massively negative. If this figure comes out anything positive, I think we're going to get a stronger push on the US dollar because the market is expecting a negative figure. They're expecting it to come out way worse, their GDP. If the GDP comes out anything above 2 or anything like that, I think US dollar is going to have a hell of a push. And obviously it's pushing at the moment massively hard as well. But what happens with this is also going to be impacted by what happens with the Bank of Japan and what Kuroda says tomorrow morning. So it's going to be quite a tricky one tomorrow. Levels that we would expect to see a bounce at are probably going to get invalidated. A little bit like this, yeah. So you would be looking for a double top somewhere around there. You'd be taking that, and all of a sudden you get one of those. Likelihood is that could happen tomorrow with the US dollar. But the US dollar CAD has been held here multiple times this year. So again, this is probably going to be where we're going to start to see some kind of correction. But the strength of the move is, this isn't just an accumulation, try and retest this area to get higher and fail. This is a hell of a push. So very strong US. So it's whether or not there's enough limit orders sitting up here in the market, and there's enough buyers in here willing to take profit on their moves to start that downtrend. We won't know until we get there. But I'd certainly expect some price action up there. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. If you're in a long trade, a little bit longer. But we are rejecting at the moment. We started to weaken this morning. We started to weaken during the Asian session. But we have done a beautiful support bounce, look. So I think we've got a little bit more. What channels am I looking at? Loads. Go and have a look on YouTube. I'm not going to plug names and stuff. There's lots of traders that trade futures. There's lots of traders that trade all sorts of stuff. But I wasn't here when we went over the pair. That's okay. Peter, I know what you mean about having a reluctance to enter any trades. Yeah. It's a mentality that I'm struggling with. I've missed some beauties due to my trepidation. You're always going to miss trades. Always. Always going to miss opportunities. That bullish engulfing, I was very tempted by this. Not bullish engulf. That bullish candlestick, I was very tempted by when I got out because I was expecting exactly what happened. But you can't take every entry, and you're just going to miss out on opportunities. Sorry, I just took that fib off there. I didn't see what we actually pulled back to. Come on, fib. Oh my God. We didn't even get a 38 pullback on that before we started the next leg. So, yeah, you're always going to miss an opportunity. You just got to take the ones that you think. And for me at the moment, when I'm seeing RSI extensions, in a normal situation, I would be looking at RSI extensions, as you know, as I've been doing for years, and entering because it's extended, and it's extended because the market has pushed it to an extension and it's ready to take a profit. That's mean reversion. At the moment, there's so much happening in the world with fundamentals, with economics, with conflict, with everything. I'm just adding in levels with much more importance. So if you're struggling to take trades because you're worried about what's going to happen to them, the thing to do is to get in with less positions, which is what I'm doing. Well, that's what I think you should be doing anyway. But I'm getting in with 2 or 3 entries and I'm getting out. Yeah. So this looks like a lovely long. It's a much lovelier long down here because we've got a much higher probability of a bounce when we've got confluence of RSI absolutely exhausted on the daily. We've got it absolutely exhausted on the 4 hour. We've got it in an area that the market has rejected in the past. You know, it will have hit ADR. You just want more of those ticks, more confluence. And if you want another confluence, get in on a higher time frame. Don't get on an M15, get in on an hourly reversal rather than an M15 reversal. As Kimmy's just said, use RSI divergence. Yeah, as well, if you want to. You've got divergence on the... That's not a divergence, so I can't really do that. If you've got divergence on the RSI, use that as well. Confluence. It's all about confluence. The more confluence you have, the better the chances of your trade working out are going to be. Double top on the DAX. Probably missed that. It's broke. Double top. We're double topping. Yeah, I think we're coming up 50% of the move from yesterday. So I'll be looking for a short somewhere up there. Sorry, 1 second. I've just got to grab the door. Oh, my wife continuously shopping online. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking for, basically 50% move, and then potentially looking for short. So, you know, somewhere in here we're going to find a load of limit orders in anybody that's going to be shorting the market. So somewhere up there is where I would probably look to enter short. I don't really want to chase it long up there. I'd much rather start shorting it when we get somewhere up there. Probably going to not get up there until towards the end of the session if it does, but equally this thing could just go into a rotation and then pop up there during the New York session. So you never know, do you? This is the whole point. This is what I keep saying. We don't know where it's going. No one knows where it's going. You got to get in and hope that it goes your way at the time that you're going in. If you've got somewhere you think it's going to, it could get there in the next 5-10 minutes, or it could get there in the next 3 to 5 hours. Don't know. You've just got to make sure that you enter with a decent entry where, you know, somewhere down there with a risk maybe down there, and it might take 4 hours to go and get back up to that 50. Equally, we could have a news event and the thing could just spike up there in one candle. You don't know. You can't time it. Calculated risk. I'll leave that fib in place so we can have a look at that later. But yeah, so that 50% somewhere around there is where I would be looking for today. We'll see. We did see some RSI divergence, didn't we? On something. Whoops. It's the US dollar Swiss we're looking at. Yeah, we got divergence on the US dollar Swiss. So it's bearish divergence. So again, you know, this just look for confluence when you're getting in. Divergence is great. We had that yesterday, didn't we? That divergence. But we've had divergence for 3 weeks. The thing is still squeezing. Gold just popped. Anybody that's entered long since February, if they're still in a position, is potentially gone on that pop. Certainly everybody that went long yesterday, they're out. Yeah, looks like a lovely long. It's a liquidity run. That's what I said, wasn't it? Look for a break of that low. Taking out yesterday's, previous day's low. There's your W you were talking about, Andy. Just not a very pretty one, is it? It's very, very ugly W. So if you want to be conservative, get in on a break of that high. If you want to be aggressive, get in now. If you want to be super conservative, wait for a reversal alert. But you got one there on M15. Now we've made that new low. But equally, this could be the pop. So watch price action. If we get more bearish price action over the next sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you know, just don't know. Don't know these days. I lost most of my money trying to reverse entry, watching divergence and patterns, but now I'm only sticking with continuation. Every strategy works, Kimmy. Divergence works. Price action patterns work. Everything works. The problem is your timing is off and your stops and your TPs are in the wrong places. Yeah. I don't know if you've watched any of my videos, but you can't time when things are going to happen. If you get divergence in the market, it's a sign of bullishness. But look at yesterday. Prime example yesterday on the Nasdaq. Yeah. There. And there was divergence. Well, we were looking for divergence. Oh, we were looking at. Sorry, yeah, I wasn't looking at the RSI. I was looking at the cumulative delta in futures yesterday. Remember yesterday in the cumulative delta in futures yesterday flipped green. There was tons and tons of buying coming in, and this thing was just going down and down and down and down. Doesn't matter when you spot that divergence. It just means that there is a good probability of a bounce coming in, but you don't know when. So you just take your entries and you get in. and you hope it's going to work. If it doesn't work, you take your loss. You get in again, you hope it's going to work. If it doesn't work, you take your loss. You get in again. As long as that one is bigger than those two, that's how you make money. Divergence works X amount of the time. Bullish and bearish engulfings work X amount of the time. The problem people have with all strategies is no matter how many, if you give anybody the best strategy in the world with a 50% strike rate, yeah, they will lose money with it. Because with a 50% strike rate, 50% of those trades are going to fail, right? If you only take the 50% that are going to fail, you will have a 100% losing rate. And this is the problem with people that say, I've got a strategy with a 65% strike rate. It's only a 65% strike rate if you take every single trade ever offered by that strategy. If you miss 30% of those, it hasn't got a 65% strike rate anymore. If you look back on the RSI and go, strike rate on the RSI was, where's that one? A loss, a win. I'm just going for longs here. Probably a win. A win. Definite loss. A loss. Probably a loss. That one, when it got down to there, depends where you took it, but it was a loss, wasn't it? And then you got to win out of that one. Yeah, so the strike rate on that is probably 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losers. So that's got a negative strike rate on this one instrument, on this one time frame, over this period of 1 week that I'm looking at. You do this same experiment on a higher time frame over a period of a year, you'll find you'll get a 50 to 70% strike rate with it. But if you only took the losers, you got 100% loss rate. Yeah. So if you lost money trying to reverse entries, watching divergence and price action patterns, you just picked the wrong ones. If you'd have picked all the other ones, you'd have made a load of money. And this is the problem with systems and strategies and why people system hop. People buy my indicators. Yeah, they buy the ADR indicator, for example. And I get this all the time. It's just makes me fed up. But it's just, I've been through it, so I know why people say it. Oh, I just took an ADR reversal and it popped up to 125 and lost. And then I took one at 150 and it went up to 225 and it lost. Yeah. Now go and look at the other 3 weeks where it hit 100 and bounced off perfectly 5 times in the row. If you'd have taken those 5 trades, you wouldn't be emailing me. Yeah. This indicator has a big failure rate. This indicator has a big failure rate. This indicator has a big failure rate. Anything over a 5 or 10% failure rate in this industry, people think is bad because everybody wants that holy grail 100% strike rate indicator that doesn't exist. And everyone's chasing it forever. And until you find it, you keep system hopping. When you suddenly realize that you've got a 50-50 chance of getting a right trade every time you enter the market, you suddenly stop doing all of that. Moves that way and up and down. We don't know when it's going to do it, but that's what we know is going to happen. So you get in, you get out. That's all you can do. And if you want to use divergence, use divergence. Divergence is great. Brilliant divergence there. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant divergence there. If you'd have entered last night or this morning, lovely little trade. Divergence works, doesn't it? You can see it works. I've just shown you. But then I can show you lots of instances where it doesn't work. Head and shoulders patterns. Everybody goes, oh look, there's a head and shoulders. The only reason you spot a head and shoulders, which is completed, is because it looks like that. Go back in your charts and look for head and shoulders that look like that. You'll find way more of those than you will those. Because you can't spot these because this is not a head and shoulders pattern. It's a failed head and shoulders pattern. It's a W-shaped reversal. But you only see the ones that work. So everyone goes, head and shoulders patterns are brilliant. When you start trading them, you realize how many of them fail. But some of them work. And if you only took the ones that worked, you'd be a successful trader, wouldn't you? But you won't take the ones that work. You'll take every one you see. And then you'll suddenly realize what the failure rate is. There is no indicator that works. They all work, and they all don't work. Yeah, they're signals. That's all they are. They're signals to get in the market. Your analysis is what makes you a good trader. Or I've got a signal. Do I want to take that signal? Not I've got a signal. I need to take that signal. Do I want to take that signal? I don't know. Let's have a look. What's happened on the daily chart? What's the support and resistance levels like? Are we in a decent supply and demand zone? Is there some news coming out that's potentially going to affect the market over the next couple of days? Have I got confluence with other indicators that are telling me they're all looking pretty good for different reasons? Yeah, there's not one out there that works. There's a accumulation of indicators and your brain. Your brain is the thing that really makes you work as a trader, not that one indicator. Sorry, going off on a rant, but I'm not having a go at anybody. I'm just saying, that's just real life. As you've seen, I lost $2,300 yesterday in the futures market. If I had indicators that worked 100% of the time, I wouldn't have done that. But you do. Excuse me. Right, so that's all I've got for you today. I think by the looks of the DAX, we're quite possibly going to have a slow grind climb today. I'm glad I got that trade this morning because it means I don't have to trade this, but I think that's probably what it looks like at the moment. We've just broken the opening range highs. We're an hour and a half into the session. Opening range low, I think, is probably the low of day. So I'd be looking for long opportunities, but I wouldn't want to get too long on it because obviously the market is very, very, very bearish at the minute. I'd much rather be interested in waiting for the market to get up there and then looking for shorts. But I think probably we're going to climb potentially this morning. But pick a side, yeah? That's what you've got to do. Every time you're looking to enter a trade, you pick a side. Are you a bear or a bull? It doesn't matter which you are. You can make money being both. You just need to decide at this particular time, do I think we are going to go into a rotation and do I want to be shorting it? Or do I think we are going to go from a red to green day and I'm looking to try and get in there? And if you're looking to get in there, you need to make sure that when you enter, you've got a decent risk reward on your trade. Simple as that. Sounds easy. Executing it, very hard. Mace, I think it's going down. Oh, is that the gold you were talking about? Before I started waffling. Yeah, that's good. If you think it's going down, go short. Stick a stop there, go short, pick a target. Where's it going? That's the question you should always be asking yourself. Every time you get into a trade is not, where should my stop be? Where's it going? It's going to ADR, I think, if it's going short. So if it's going short to ADR and you get in right now, have you got enough room, risk reward wise, to get out of that trade with a profit? I don't know. But ask yourself that question. Yeah, this black line here is probably the next level of support. So is there enough room for you? Personally, it's much more logical for that to be a liquidity run along. We've got a lot more room to the upside than we have to the downside. But, you know, one of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong. What's important is, if you're right, your risk reward is there. If you're wrong, you're stopping yourself from losing a load of money. If I'm right, I've got a lovely risk reward back up to where I think it's going. About 175 ADR. It's a much better risk reward trade, that. $80 to 400. So that's a 4-to-1 risk reward. The short, for me anyway, would be 117 to 145. So it's probably a 1.2 to 1. So there's a 4 to 1 long and a 1.2 to 1 short. Both good trades. Both are possible to play out, and both of them are positive risk reward, aren't they? Who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. Not even the bloke in Barclays sitting there wanting to execute a load of gold positions knows, because he's got no idea what HSBC are up to. And this is on a secret Telegram group, which they were, weren't they, and got caught. You go long, I'll go short. I'll go short, you go long. We'll just swap money and we'll make a load of commission along the way. Right, so that's what I've got for you this morning. Bulls are starting to step back in a little bit. We're getting some positive ticks starting to show on the NAS. It's going to be a bit of a slow grind. We've done all the liquidity there in that first opening 45 minutes. So it's going to be a slow grind whichever way we go, I think, unless we get some news coming out. So no news today, just to recap. There's been no news overnight. Oh, there was some news. I forgot to say about this. So Russia has now halted gas supplies to Bulgaria and Poland until they start paying in rubles, which isn't really cost effective for them to do, because it will be way more expensive for them to pay in rubles. So that's unlikely to happen. So we're going to need more gas supply. US is a net producer. They're likely to be able to do all of this. So potential for more strength on the US dollar if this doesn't sort itself out. That was the only news, apart from somebody attacking something in Russia. That's the fourth explosion now we've had in Russia. It seems that there's some special forces from somewhere blowing up oil depots in Russia, and we're like 100 kilometers inside the Russian border. So this is not insignificant. Someone is actually attacking Russia. I doubt it's the Ukrainian special forces. More likely to be a Western special forces doing this, or internal terrorists within Russia that are against the war, trying to halt the war effort. Either way, Russia's being hindered. So this isn't significant in itself, but it is significant in the fact that Russia will probably start to step up their offensive or their threats towards the West, which means we get more of these. These are what makes the market do that and that. Yeah. So it's not the actual news item that is of interest. It's the fact that we will likely have more news coming in, and more news coming in equals more volatility in the market, and that's when we see these big spikes happening. So just be aware. And again, prime example of, I had one 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't I? I was short in the market just as Lavrov opened his mouth, and I made 4.8% on one trade because Lavrov spoke. If you're in the market at the right time, you're going to get them. Anything that comes out of Russia is negative. Anything that comes out of the Ukraine or the US is positive, or the West, really. So Lavrov and Putin, negative indices. Everybody else, positive indices. So just be aware of those as well. If you're seeing spikes in the market, or you think there's going to be... if you see a tranche of information coming out, what we tend to see is Lavrov, for example, come on to the TV and start talking. You'll get a red thing come in, and it's from Lavrov. He's talking. He could well keep talking and keep saying controversial things, which means that that initial spike has a bit of a retracement and does that. So use this to your advantage. Get in the market when these guys start talking, because they move it. And obviously, if Elon Musk does let Trump back onto Twitter, hey, we can have more Trump effect on the US dollar, which would be amazing, because he was really good for the US dollar. But we'll see. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Anything you need, let me know. Come into the Telegram group. I will be in there as usual. I'll be back this afternoon. We'll have a look at the US markets. As I said, at the moment, all I've got on is that US dollar Swiss short, which is going nowhere at the moment. My New Zealand dollar yen long, which is just entered. And I'm looking for the euro pound short, which didn't quite get that low, so still not in that just yet. So that's all I'm looking at really at the minute for myself. Have a good morning. I will see you at 2:20 usual time. We'll have a look at the FX pairs that have moved, and we'll obviously have a look at the US indices as well. All right, have a good morning. See you later.